everyone, and welcome to another episode of Buzzy Be Esther. Today I want to talk about the Heavy Metal Detox Cleanse and my experience with it. I want to review how heavy metals get into us, what we can do to cleanse them, and how they affect us, as well as my experience with them. Next week is going to be a part 2 of this video, and I'm going to tell you more about the Heavy Metal Detox Smoothie, my experience with it and finding different ingredients and things like that, and also my cilantro aversion. Hint, I no longer hate cilantro, which is a really interesting story. So look out for that post next week. Stay tuned to hear more about heavy metals and what you can do to help yourself. I hope you enjoy. So the first thought you might have is, well, I don't get heavy metals in me. So what's the big deal? Well, you're probably wrong. So we're exposed to heavy metals even when we don't think we are. Some of the ways heavy metals get into us are from the materials we use for our food. Things like aluminum cans, aluminum foil. A little piece of aluminum can leach off of those things into our food and we ingest it, which means it's inside of us. Cooking materials and utensils that are stainless steel or other metals can also leach into us. Silver fillings contain a little bit of mercury, and when you get them removed, then that can release the mercury, so that goes into our bodies and different things like that. You can even find lead, arsenic, copper, aluminum, and sometimes mercury in tap water. If you're thinking, oh, well, I drink filtered water, then if you've ever had coffee at a local coffee shop, then you probably are drinking tap water with these heavy metals in it. Fluoride treatments that we get at the dentist have an methyl aluminum neurotoxin in them, and it's also a byproduct of aluminum. So if you ever even just brush your teeth with fluoride toothpaste, then you have aluminum, heavy metal, and a neurotoxin in you. So as you can see, you get heavy metals pretty much every turn, everywhere you go. You probably have been exposed to heavy metals. So the good thing is you can heal from that with the heavy metal detox ingredients and doing the heavy metal cleanse. When I first learned about this, I had a little bit of anxiety because I'm like, well, that's pretty much everything, and I do a lot of that stuff, right? So don't worry, there are things you can do to protect yourself. You don't have to live in fear. That's what medical medium information is all about, and that's why I love it so much. So stay tuned to figure out what you can do to help get those heavy metals out. Before I get into how to get the heavy metals out, I want to talk a little bit about how they affect us. So, if you know anything about electricity, you know that metals conduct electricity. And if you have metals inside of your brain, which is all electricity, then what can happen is basically a short circuit. And things like ADHD, basically any kind of mental problem that can be caused by toxic heavy metals in the brain. Our bodies are powered by electricity. So if they're getting short-circuited, we're going to be affected by it. Heavy metals hold a disruptive charge that interferes with electricity that travels through our brain. This is on page 181 of the Cleanse to Heal book by Anthony William. The electrical signals can weaken when they hit deposits of heavy metals in the brain. This can lead to conditions such as brain fog, memory issues, confusion, anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's, dementia, ALS, Parkinson's, bipolar, and schizophrenia. Heavy metals also interact with each other and can cause a toxic heavy metal runoff. They can also mix to create alloys. These combinations can cause more serious problems. For example, mercury and aluminum can create a discharge that leads to tremors, twitching, depression, anxiety, seizures, weak limbs, and memory loss. The mix of pathogens in our body can also affect how things are working and interacting with these heavy metals. Pathogens like the Epstein-Barr virus actually feed on heavy metals, and the byproduct that they basically excrete after they eat is even worse than the original heavy metal and can cause more problems. Problems such as ADHD, OCD, Tourette's, autism, and more can be caused by these toxic alloys and byproducts and runoffs. Even if you're not diagnosed with something mentioned above, if you have migraines or a little bit of anxiety, which I feel like everyone is experiencing nowadays, then you probably have heavy metals inside of your brain. So it's really important to stay tuned to figure out how you can remove these safely, and so you can feel basically lighter and happier when these things are going away. As a side note, Anthony William is coming out with a new book, Brain Saver and Brain Saver Protocols and Recipes. And I am really, really excited because he's going to go into detail on how the heavy metals affect our brains and how they develop into all these diseases that I had mentioned earlier. So look out for that and pre-order it, because right now it's on pre-order on Amazon. So now you're thinking, well, how the heck do I get this stuff out of my brain, out of my body, that are causing all of these problems? Well, you can actually find the answer on page 179 to 187 of Cleanse to Heal in Anthony Williams' book. And basically all the information I gave you was a little bit of a summary of it. And I'm going to give you a little more information from those pages on the 5 main ingredients that you need to have to be able to cleanse heavy metals out of your body safely. So, you want to have wild blueberries, spirulina, barley grass juice powder. The details matter with that one. Don't get barley grass powder because that's not the same as barley grass juice powder. You want fresh cilantro, not dried, and Atlantic dulse. All of these 5 ingredients work together to help pull things out of organs and out of tissues, and they also hold onto it and latch onto it to take it safely out of your body through your digestive system. So part of the heavy metal morning cleanse, I usually do this in the morning, even though you can do this throughout the day as well. But basically you're going to start with 16 to 32 ounces of lemon water, which is optional. The lemon water basically helps prepare your body and hydrate you so the heavy metals can get out pretty easily. It also helps flush toxins from the body, which helps just prepare for this cleanse as well. Then, after you have your your lemon water, then you wait 15 to 30 minutes and have celery juice. Plain celery juice, nothing added. Do not add lemons, do not add anything to change the taste. If you add anything to celery juice, it will not work effectively. So you have your lemon water, wait 15-30 minutes, have your celery juice, wait 15-30 minutes for it to work. It's magic. And then you have your heavy metal detox smoothie, which is how I like to get all of these 5 ingredients into my system all at once. If you don't like the heavy metal detox smoothie, or you find the barley grass juice powder and spirulina a little too strong, then you can modify things. So one thing you can do, and I'm going to go into more detail with this next week in my smoothie post, but you can start with a little bit and add a little bit more for the green powders. You can also deconstruct your smoothie and have some wild blueberries in the morning, sprinkle a little spirulina on another fruit or something, so you can kind of deconstruct that and have these 5 ingredients throughout the day. Anthony Williams says if you have these 5 ingredients throughout the day, then that is the best for them to work together to help remove all of those toxins and heavy metals from your system safely. So next I want to talk about why I decided to start with the Heavy Metal Detox Cleanse pretty much right away after I did my first 369 cleanse. So I came to the medical medium because I started looking up cleanses, mostly because my husband and I were having a hard time getting pregnant. So I know I had endometriosis. The doctors really couldn't tell me what the heck was going on. So I decided to look up cleanses online, just try to find a natural fruit cleanse. And I couldn't find anything. I found a lot of vegan things on there. I found some things on the internet that were hundreds of dollars for like 4 days, and it was all like prepackaged stuff that doesn't look very appetizing, and it was just way too much money for me. So I was trying to find something with whole foods that would help me, cleanse. So I came to the medical medium book. I will actually post another story about my kind of coming to that a little bit more. But basically, long story short, I ended up reading Cleanse to Heal, and I went straight to the back of the book where all the symptoms are, and he tells you the true causes of your symptoms. So some of the true causes, I actually, flipping through the symptoms pages, I found way more symptoms that I had that I didn't even really think about too much. Then, I didn't even realize I had all that going on, and it's actually not normal to have all that going on, but most people just think it's normal because a lot of people are walking around with a lot of toxins and Epstein-Barr virus and just all this kind of stuff going on that's causing these low-grade viral symptoms, basically. So the three conditions really that kind of brought me to the heavy metal stuff was my endometriosis, which Anthony William explains that toxic heavy metals can exacerbate endometriosis. So endometriosis is caused by toxins inside of the reproductive system, and a lot of times there could be Epstein-Barr or other viruses that are in there that are eating these toxins, and the uterus is trying to protect itself, so it creates this extra tissue in other places and push things out and different things to try and protect itself from these viruses and pathogens and toxins. So toxic heavy metals are part of the problem with that. So my first thing was obviously my endometriosis, because that was my main issue. And then also my family history. So I was actually adopted by my cousin. So cool story there. And my cousin and my biological father are pretty much the same age. So my cousin ended up adopting me because my biological parents had a lot of mental health issues, and they basically couldn't take care of me. So I know right away, pretty much every mental health thing in the book said it was caused by toxic heavy metals, specifically in the brain. A lot of times mercury, more specifically, because mercury is really, really difficult to get out of the brain. So, but not with those 5 ingredients, by the way. So make sure that you are using these tools. So that's really, really important. There's also some evidence of things going on. Like my grandmother had Alzheimer's disease, which is definitely a result of toxic heavy metals inside of the brain. So, I just know that those toxins run on that side of the family. And I know for sure that my mother was probably taking a lot of pharmaceuticals while I was in utero because of all the stuff going on with that. So I definitely probably had a lot of stuff going on with that. And then finally, my migraines. So migraines was on the list, and it said that toxic heavy metals can trigger migraines, and they are caused by shingles or Epstein-Barr virus that creates neurotoxins. And of course, those viruses can eat the toxic heavy metals, which makes the problem worse. So yeah, basically I came to the conclusion I got some toxic heavy metals going on, especially with the list of just how things get into you. And I know I do a lot of that stuff. Like I always have, a can of Coke or a can of whatever. And I would always use aluminum foil, things like that. So I know that I needed to cleanse from the toxic heavy metals. And my experience doing that, I was migraine free within 3 months of doing this cleanse, and I was just astounded. I would get migraines shooting through my eye, one of my 2 eyes, once a week at least, and I would just deal with it. Thought it was a part of my life, thought I could do nothing about it. I tried Excedrin, it would make me all jittery with all the caffeine. I tried over-the-counter medicines, which just made me absolutely nauseous and sick to my stomach. I literally couldn't even stand teaching because I just didn't feel good with that. So a lot of times I just dealt with it. I would take Tylenol, hope it would go away. It usually didn't. When I got home, I would just lay in bed because it just hurt so bad. So the migraines went away. There's some other symptoms that I didn't talk about before too, like my acid reflux. The celery juice specifically, because the celery juice is part of this cleanse. The celery juice really helped clear my acid reflux, and that also went away within like 3 months for the most part. I was still dealing with it a little bit, and I couldn't quite have the bananas in the smoothie right away, which I will talk more about next week. But the acid reflux got way better, and I pretty much don't have it anymore. And then finally, caffeine. I want to talk a little bit about caffeine. So when I was doing, before I found Medical Medium, I had at least 16 ounces of coffee every single morning. And I thought it was just the thing to, wake you up, give you energy. That's what everyone was doing. I got hooked on it in college, and it's kind of always been in my life since. But after doing the 369 cleanse and not having coffee for those 9 days, when I had coffee, after the cleanse, I felt very jittery, and I just realized how bad it made me feel. And it took me being off of coffee and having no coffee to realize how bad coffee actually made me feel. So I ended up giving up coffee altogether from that. I realized, wow, this doesn't make me feel good. I'm done with it. And then I also try to stay away from, caffeine. I don't really drink Coke that much. I'll have it every once in a while, not very often. And I will stay away from chocolate for the most part because I'm trying to heal my acne. And chocolate can feed the strep that causes acne. But for the most part, I stay away from caffeine. And I do attribute that to this morning routine. So I started with the lemon juice, the celery juice, and then, well, it was lemon water, excuse me. So some lemon juice and lemon water. Then the celery juice, and then the Heavy Metal Detox kind of made my energy very even. It made me feel good. And that really is what kept me going for so long, to really kick the caffeine habit, which was just really, really hard for a lot of people. And I really do attribute that to this cleanse. So that was a really cool thing that happened. I'm just looking through my notes to see if I got everything. Oh, also a note on my endometriosis doing this cleanse. So I started doing this cleanse in pretty much September 2020, right after my first 369 cleanse, which I did at the end of August. And within 3 months, my migraines disappeared. I told you my acid reflux pretty much went away. I still get headaches every once in a while, especially when I'm cleansing, because I think there's still some heavy metals and stuff that I'm dealing with. But for the most part, that stuff is gone. But also with my endometriosis, I would have really, really, really painful periods. So I was on birth control pretty much since middle school, and I never really realized how my body felt on the cycles. Trying to get pregnant, getting off of birth control, my body didn't just, from all the stuff, I guess, from all the years, it just, my cycles were very, very, very painful. So within, I'm not sure of the time span for this, but through time, those periods got a little bit better with the cramping and things. And they didn't really get a lot better until I started doing more 369 cleanses and mono eating cleanses, which is what I'm kind of doing right now. But this cleanse was kind of my first step into really this journey. So that's kind of how it happened. After about 6 months to 8 months or so, I got my cyst checked because, so I actually had a gigantic cyst on my right ovary in 2012 that got removed, and then they removed the ovary with it. And in the whole trying to get pregnant thing, I found out that I have another endometrioma, which is a type of cyst caused by endometriosis, in my left ovary, which is my only ovary right now. And of course, that can affect the eggs and all that kind of stuff. So it was a concern. A part of the reason of doing these cleanses was to try and help all these problems, and the most visible thing that I could see that was helping was to see if this cyst was getting smaller or not. So after about 6 to 8 months, the cyst did get a little bit smaller. And so I'm not sure if it was because of the cleanse, because the doctors also said that it could be, depending on where I am in my cycle, the cyst could be larger or smaller. But in general, my cyst has not gotten larger, and it's been getting just slightly smaller. I wanted to get it obviously smaller than what it did. So that's why I kind of went into more 369 cleanses and now the mono eating cleanse, which I will definitely post those separately about my experience with them, because there's a lot. So yeah, I really think that this is a great way to start cleansing, especially if you have a lot of heavy metals in you. You know, just start somewhere. Every little step that you do on your healing path is a step in the right direction, even if it's not perfect. If you want to check out my blog post, I did put more information in there. I kind of veered off track a little bit with kind of interjected some things from my blog post, and I also put a list of resources and references, including the Heavy Metal Detox smoothie recipe from the Medical Mediums blog at the end. So make sure you check that out. The link will also be in the comment below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Buzzy Bee Esther, and I'll leave you guys with one last quote from Cleanse to Heal. Make sure you check it out. If you don't want to buy it, find it in your local library. It's a really awesome resource and tool. So this quote is actually on the adjacent page to the Heavy Metal Detox Cleanse. And Anthony Williams says, "Spirit of compassion has always said to me throughout the years of helping so many heal that knowing the true cause of why you're sick is half the battle won. Knowing what to do, what to take, and how to apply these tools is the other half the battle won." So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and please check out the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like it. Bye. Exacerbate, exas